Hi everyone, welcome back to Wildpedia. Last time, at the end of our video about wolves, I told you I'd tell you a little bit about werewolves. Well, it's time. Okay, I'm not a werewolf. I'm just a normal villager. Everyone has heard stories about werewolves, but where did these stories come from? Remember in the last video when I mentioned the ferociousness of wolves and their creepy howls that we hear at night? That is one reason why humans are scared of them. The wolf's most obvious attribute is its predatory nature, and correspondingly it is strongly associated with danger and destruction. In some cultures, wolves are used as symbols to represent warriors or the devil. In traditional Balkan and Serbian mythology and cults, the wolf was a mythological creature. In Old Slavic mythology, the wolf was used as a totem. And in the Serbian epic poetry, the wolf is a symbol of fearlessness. Norse mythology famously includes 3 malevolent wolves, including the giant Fenrisulfur, or Fenrir, who is the eldest child of Loki. Yep, this guy takes his name from a Norse myth. Fenrir is bound by the gods, but is ultimately destined to grow too large for his bonds and devour Odin, king of the gods, during the course of Ragnarok, the Norse apocalypse. Then, Fenrir's 2 offspring, according to the legend, devoured the sun and moon during Ragnarok. Norse myths also had some good wolves as well. The wolves Geri and Freki were Odin's faithful pets who were reputed to be of good omen. Wolves also appear in the Bible, which contains 13 references to them, usually as metaphors for greed and destructiveness. In the New Testament, Jesus uses wolves to illustrate the dangers potential followers would face should they follow him. Humans, with their expansionist nature, have taken up a lot of land and gradually invaded the territory of the wolves, giving them less space to forage for food. Humans have also hunted wolves as prey, so it's easy to see that while humans and wolves were starting to take up the same space, they did not get along very well. In the Middle Ages, people had myths that wolves killed lots of cattle, making life very difficult for sheep herders and the like. Myths like this are why people are afraid of the big bad wolf, and why you should never wear a red hoodie when you walk through the forest to your grandmother's house. But this fear is actually pretty unfounded. In reality, wolves only cause about 1% of cattle deaths. Of course, by the time the Black Death came around, people had another reason to be scared of wolves. The plague killed over 25 million people, and unburied human corpses were often just dumped in the forest. That was about the time when people started telling each other stories about werewolves who lived in the woods and ate humans. In folklore, a werewolf is a human who was cursed with the ability to shapeshift into a wolf on the night of the full moon. This would happen to a human when they were bitten or scratched by another werewolf. Werewolves have always been viewed as pretty scary. Even in the magical world of Harry Potter, Remus Lupin found it hard to make friends once other wizards knew he was a werewolf. Most representations of werewolves distinguish them from regular wolves by giving them shorter snouts, more human-like eyes, tufted tails, and of course, their mindless hunting of humans whilst in wolf form. When they're not in wolf form, they appear as normal humans, although they age prematurely and gain a pallor as the full moon approaches and then wanes. So, with all this hysteria around werewolves, it may surprise you to hear that actual wolves are actually not that aggressive towards humans, despite the vast number of folktales representing them as ruthless predators.
Go, 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 go! He's on our tail! Go! Go, he's right behind us!
Wolves you see in real life are unlikely to attack a human except under exceptional circumstances. Fictional werewolves, however, target humans almost exclusively while posing very little danger to any other creature. We know now that werewolves aren't real, which is good, because if they were real, then maybe vampires would be as well. That's not a world I'd like to live in, but a lot of girls might have a different opinion. But let's just imagine how things would play out if werewolves actually were real. Police and military forces would be called out to round up identified werewolves as soon as we realized that they were terrorizing us. The cursed humans would then probably be locked up in quarantine facilities for scientific studies, since being a werewolf violates so many rules of biology. Herbs that may or may not ward off werewolves, like blessed thistle, would be grown as paranoid people tried to prepare for possible attacks, while landscaping for home security would include rows of garlic planted around the house. Meanwhile, Italian cooking would probably become a lot more common due to its common ingredient of garlic. And the phrase, "that time of the month," would start to be used to refer to the time for werewolf attacks. Reality TV programming during the full nights would be dominated by werewolf watching, and werewolf hunter reality shows may be broadcasted live. And at least a few people would choose to become werewolves on purpose so they could get their 15 minutes of fame. And people who are werewolves would be outed, while at least a few people, incorrectly identified as werewolves, would get shot. Things would be crazy. Also, get ready for your parents to drag you to church more often. During full moons, midnight mass would become an all-night event for the safety of the congregants. Now, before we wrap up, I have to tell you that the crazy idea of werewolves is actually based on a real disease that some people actually get, called hypertrichosis, also known as werewolf syndrome. Hypertrichosis is a condition characterized by excessive hair growth anywhere on a person's body, making them look a little bit like a hairy wolf. It can affect both women and men, but it's extremely rare. The abnormal hair growth may cover the face and body or simply just occur in small patches. Hypertrichosis can appear at birth or develop in a person over time. The causes of hypertrichosis aren't well understood, though the disease has been known to run in some families. Congenital hypertrichosis may be caused by the reactivation of genes that cause hair growth. The genes that cause excessive hair growth in early humans have shut down during the course of evolution, but due to random mutations, sometimes these hair growth genes can turn on while a baby is still in the womb. But don't be worried because again, hypertrichosis is extremely rare. Of course, a long time ago, before modern scientific advancements, it made sense that people would see another person with hypertrichosis and assume they might be a werewolf cannibal monster. After all, we're talking about a time in history when Galileo was put to death simply for discussing astronomy. So, in conclusion, werewolves are not real. But for anyone interested in them, luckily we now have a lot of Hollywood movies worth watching about werewolves. So, that's pretty cool. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for the next video. See you next time!